The alarm sounded throughout the United Earth Defense Force headquarters. Red lights flashed in the corridors as personnel rushed to their stations. Admiral John Carter strode quickly into the command center, his face showing no emotion despite the chaos around him. "Status report," he said calmly. Lieutenant Susan Miller looked up from her console. Her eyes were wide, but her voice remained steady. "Sir, we have detected multiple objects entering the solar system beyond Neptune's orbit. They're moving fast and in formation." Carter nodded. He had been expecting this day for years. "Show me." The main screen lit up with a real-time image from one of Earth's long-range telescopes. Dozens of metallic shapes moved through space. They shimmered with an unusual blue glow around their hulls. "Are they matching any known designs?" Carter asked. "Yes, sir," Miller replied. "They match the descriptions from the Centauri refugees. These are Xeraxian warships." The room fell silent. Everyone had heard about the Xeraxians. For the past 50 years, refugees from nearby star systems had been arriving on Earth with stories of a vast empire that conquered worlds without mercy. The Xeraxians moved from galaxy to galaxy, taking what they wanted and destroying anyone who resisted. Carter turned to his communications officer. "Get me the president." In less than a minute, President Maria Daniels appeared on a secure channel. She wore a simple blue suit, her gray hair pulled back tightly. "Admiral Carter, I've been informed of our visitors. How much time do we have?" "At their current speed, they'll reach Jupiter's orbit in 6 hours. I suspect they'll pause there to scan our system more thoroughly." The president's expression remained neutral. "Initiate Protocol Omega. I'll inform the Security Council." "Yes, Madam President." Carter ended the call and turned to his team. "You heard her. Protocol Omega is now active." The officers around him began typing rapidly at their stations. Protocol Omega had been developed after the crashed Xeraxian scout ship had been found in the Arizona desert 50 years ago. That discovery had changed everything for humanity. It had given Earth a glimpse of what existed beyond their solar system and what might one day come looking for them. "Sir, the fleet is slowing near Jupiter, as you predicted," Miller reported, several hours later. "They appear to be deploying smaller vessels." Carter frowned. "Scout ships. They're mapping our defenses." He pressed a button on his chair. "Dr. Wright to the command center." Dr. Alan Wright arrived 5 minutes later. He was a thin man with thick glasses and messy brown hair. As Earth's leading xenolinguist, he had spent decades studying the language patterns found in the crashed alien ship. "The Xeraxians are here," Carter told him. "We're picking up transmissions. I need you to confirm what they're saying." Wright nodded and moved to a workstation. He put on headphones and began typing. The strange sounds coming through the speakers meant nothing to most people in the room, but Wright's expression grew more concerned with each passing minute. "It's them, all right," he finally said. "Standard Xeraxian communication patterns. They're discussing Earth's observable defenses and population centers." He paused. "They seem underwhelmed." Carter allowed himself a small smile. "Good. That's exactly what we want." On the main screen, the alien fleet began to move again. One larger ship, approximately 3 miles long, separated from the others and moved closer to Earth. "They're sending a transmission directly to us," the communications officer said. "It's being broadcast on all frequencies." "Put it through," Carter ordered. The main screen flickered and an alien face appeared. The Xeraxian had gray-blue skin with ridges along its skull. 4 yellow eyes blinked independently of each other. When it spoke, a translator program converted its words to English. "People of Earth, I am Supreme General Vox Thule of the glorious Xeraxian Empire. We bring civilization and order to primitive worlds across the stars. Your planet has been selected for integration into our empire. Resistance is unnecessary and will only result in suffering for your population. Submit willingly, and you may serve as valued members of our collective. You have 72 of your Earth hours to deliver your surrender. After this time, we will begin the standard pacification process." The screen went dark. Carter turned to his officers. "They're following their usual pattern. First contact, demands for surrender, then orbital bombardment of military targets if the planet doesn't comply. Major Paul Green, the tactical officer, looked at the Admiral. Should we reveal our defensive capabilities now, sir? Not yet, Carter replied. Let them think we're primitive. The President will deliver our response according to plan. 12 hours later, President Daniels stood before the United Nations Security Council. Leaders from every nation on Earth had gathered, either in person or through secure video links. The room was tense but orderly. The Xeraxians have given us 72 hours to surrender, she said. Based on their history with other worlds, they expect us to either fight with our visible technology and lose, or surrender immediately. They do not know what we have been preparing. The President looked around the room. For 50 years we have worked together in secret. We have studied their technology. We have built our defenses. We have hidden our true capabilities. Now, we will give them exactly one warning as agreed. The Chinese leader spoke up. The message has been translated into their language? Yes, Daniels confirmed. Dr. Wright's team has ensured it will be perfectly understood. The Russian president nodded. Then we are agreed, one warning only. Within an hour, every television, radio, and digital screen on Earth broadcast the same message. President Daniels stood alone against a plain background. People of Earth, a hostile alien force has entered our solar system. They call themselves the Xeraxian Empire. They have demanded our surrender. In response, we have sent them this message. To the approaching Xeraxian Empire. This is Earth's one and only warning. We have observed your conquests. We know your methods. Leave our solar system immediately and permanently. We will not be conquered. We will not negotiate. We will not surrender. You have 48 hours to withdraw completely. As the message was sent toward the Xeraxian fleet, something else was happening far from public view. Deep beneath the Pacific Ocean, massive underwater facilities activated their power systems. Similar installations under the Atlantic seabed and Antarctic ice powered up quietly. In orbit, satellites that appeared to be weather stations or communications relays began to change their configurations slightly, and on the far side of the moon, enormous doors slid open on the surface, revealing what humanity had been building. In secret for decades, the Xeraxians received Earth's message. Hours later, they responded with video footage showing planets burning, civilizations falling, and species being enslaved or destroyed. The message was clear. This was the fate of those who resisted. In his command center, Admiral Carter watched the Xeraxian threat display without fear. They always do this, he said to his officers. They always expect fear to break their enemies. What happens when they realize it won't work on us? Lieutenant Miller asked. Carter's eyes hardened. Then they'll learn why Earth only needs to give one warning. The Xeraxian fleet moved closer to Earth. They positioned their ships near Mars, ignoring humanity's warning completely. Supreme General Vox Athul was confident. He had conquered 87 worlds in his career. Earth would be number 88. Primitive. Weapons detected on the Red Planet, his second-in-command reported. Small human outpost with minimal defenses. Vox Thul's 4 yellow eyes blinked in sequence. Destroy it. Show them our power. 3 Xeraxian destroyers broke formation and approached the Mars research station, their weapons charged with bright blue energy. Beams shot out, slicing through the dome structures. The small human outpost erupted in flames and then went silent. 35 researchers and their families died in seconds. On Earth, Admiral Carter watched the destruction on his screen. His face showed no emotion, but his hands gripped the edge of his command console tightly. They killed everyone at the Mars station, Lieutenant Miller reported, her voice tight with anger. Carter nodded, slowly. As expected. They always demonstrate their power this way. He turned to his communications officer. Send a message to Colonel Ross. Begin Phase 1. In his command center beneath Denver, Colonel Peter Ross received the message. His underground facility was one of 12 hidden bases around the world. Each had been built in complete secrecy, known only to a few thousand people globally. It's time, Ross announced to his team. They've attacked Mars. Start the sequence. Captain Lisa, Young entered a series of codes into her terminal. Stealth satellites activating now, sir. Throughout the solar system, hundreds of objects that had appeared to be nothing more than small asteroids or space debris suddenly came to life. These stealth satellites had been placed in strategic positions over the past 30 years. They were invisible to normal scans because they used technology reverse-engineered from the crashed alien ship. The satellites communicated with each other using quantum entanglement, sending messages instantly without detectable signals. They coordinated their targeting systems and locked onto the smaller Xeraxian ships at the edge of their fleet. Ross looked at the tactical display and nodded. Fire. Precise energy beams shot out from the stealth satellites simultaneously. 23. Xeraxian ships exploded without warning. Their hulls split open, venting crew and equipment into space. Alarms blared throughout the remaining fleet as the Xeraxians scrambled to understand what had happened. On his flagship, Supreme General Voxthul roared in anger. What is this? Find the source of those weapons. His officers worked frantically at their stations. Unknown, General. We detect no energy signatures before the attack. Our scanners show nothing. Voxthul slammed his fist on his command chair. Impossible. These humans are primitives. They have only basic space travel capabilities. He pointed at the tactical display. Launch missiles at their planet. Target their largest cities. Show them what happens when they resist the Empire. Hundreds of missiles launched from the Xeraxian fleet. They streaked toward Earth, designed to break through any known planetary defenses. In the White House Situation Room, President Daniels watched calmly as the missiles approached. Around her, military and civilian leaders monitored the situation. No one showed panic. Defense grid status? She asked. General Steve Harris, chairman of the Joint Chiefs, checked his tablet. All systems green, Madam President. Grid is fully operational. Activate it, she ordered. Deep below the Pacific Ocean, in a facility larger than 10 aircraft carriers, Dr. Amy Nelson gave the command to her team. Bring the shield online. Engineers and scientists worked at their stations, activating a system that had been tested countless times but never used in actual combat. Similar commands echoed in the Atlantic and Antarctic facilities. As the Xeraxian missiles reached the asteroid belt, they encountered something unexpected. The space in front of them seemed to ripple. A nearly invisible energy field extended in a sphere around Earth. When the missiles hit this barrier, they simply disintegrated. Hundreds of weapons turned to dust without exploding. The energy field pulsed slightly with each impact but remained stable. On the Xeraxian flagship, officers stared at their screens in disbelief. General, all missiles have been destroyed. There appears to be some kind of energy shield protecting the entire planet. Voxthul's skin darkened with rage. Impossible. Their technology cannot be this advanced. Check your sensors again. Sir, his second-in-command said hesitantly. I'm detecting power signatures unlike anything we've encountered before. Coming from Earth's moon. On the far side of the moon, Commander Frank Stevens walked through a massive hangar. Bay. Above him towered ships of various sizes, a fleet that humanity had built in secret. The largest vessel, nearly 2 miles long, bore the name Defender on its hull. All ships report ready for launch, his executive officer said. Stevens nodded. Hold position. We wait for the President's order. In orbit around Earth, what had appeared to be ordinary communications satellites began to transform. Solar panels folded away, revealing weapon ports. Communication dishes rotated to become targeting arrays. President Daniels received updates from all defense systems. Everything was working as planned. She turned to her advisors. The Xeraxians will escalate. Now, they always do when they meet resistance. Should we reveal our full capabilities? Asked the Secretary of Defense. Not yet, Daniels replied. Let them make the next move. We need them to commit more of their fleet. On his flagship, Voxthul was furious. He had never encountered such resistance from a supposedly primitive world. Move the main fleet into attack formation, he ordered. Prepare all weapons. We will break through their defenses with overwhelming force. His officers complied, though some exchanged nervous glances. This was not going according to their standard conquest protocol. In his Denver command center, Colonel Ross monitored the Xeraxian fleet movements. "They're gathering for a full assault," he reported to Admiral Carter. Carter's voice came through the secure channel. "Good. Let them come closer. When they commit their main force, we'll show them what humanity can really do." "Sir, Captain," Young said, looking up from her console. "We're intercepting transmissions from the Xeraxian flagship. They're calling for reinforcements." Ross smiled grimly. "They still think they're dealing with a primitive species. They have no idea what's waiting for them." The next wave of the Xeraxian attack was about to begin, but for the first time in their long history of conquest, the Empire was about to face something they had never encountered before, an enemy who had studied them for decades and prepared specifically to defeat them. As the Xeraxian fleet moved into attack position, humanity's hidden forces waited. The single warning had been given. Now it was time to show the Empire exactly why Earth only needed to give one warning, and nothing more. 3 days after the first attack, the main Xeraxian fleet arrived. Hundreds of massive warships appeared at the edge of the solar system. They dwarfed the advance force that had already caused so much trouble for Supreme General Vox Thule. "The reinforcements have arrived, General," his second-in-command reported with obvious relief. Vox Thule's mood improved instantly, his 4 yellow eyes focused on the tactical display showing Earth. "Now we will crush this unexpected resistance. Inform Fleet Admiral Zivkor that I request a full orbital bombardment." The newly arrived ships moved into formation around the original fleet. Together they created a force that had destroyed countless civilizations. Fleet Admiral Zivkor, the highest-ranking military leader in the Empire besides the Emperor himself, took command. "These humans have interesting defenses," Zivkor noted as he reviewed the battle reports, "but nothing can withstand the combined might of our Empire." The Admiral was tall even for a Xeraxian, with gray-blue skin that had darkened with age. 6 campaign medals hung from his uniform, each representing a conquered galaxy. "Begin the Yao bombardment," he ordered, "full power to all weapons." On Earth, President Daniels received word of the fleet's arrival. She called an emergency meeting with her top military advisors in the underground command center beneath the White House. "The main Xeraxian force has arrived," she announced. "Admiral Carter, what is your assessment?" Carter studied the tactical display showing the massive enemy fleet. "They've brought enough firepower to destroy several planets, Madam President. This confirms our intelligence about how seriously they take any resistance." "Is it time for Phase 2? Asked General Harris. "President." Daniels looked at each person in the room. "Yes. Activate all defensive systems and prepare the gravity lens." Throughout the solar system, humanity's hidden defenses prepared for the coming assault. On Jupiter's moon Europa, beneath its icy surface, Commander Sam Ellis received the Phase 2 order. "Power up the main generators," he told his crew. "Prepare for surface breach on my mark." Similar commands echoed through secret bases on Saturn's moon Titan and on Pluto's moon Charon. For decades, humanity had been building these outposts, hiding them from any watching eyes. In the facility beneath the Pacific Ocean, Dr. Amy Nelson stood before the control panel of humanity's most powerful weapon. The gravity lens was the result of 50 years of research into the alien technology recovered from the crashed ship. "Begin power-up sequence," she ordered her team. "Full capacity in 3 minutes." The Xeraxian fleet fired their weapons. Thousands of energy beams and missiles streaked toward Earth's energy shield. The shield flared bright as it absorbed the first impacts, then began to weaken under the sustained assault. "Shield integrity at 80% and dropping," reported. Lieutenant Miller in Earth's command center. Admiral Carter nodded calmly. "Right on schedule, continue monitoring." On the lunar base, Commander Frank Stevens received his orders. "Launch the fleet. Defensive positions only until the lens is active." The massive doors on the far side of the moon opened completely. From the shadowed interior, Earth's secret space fleet emerged. Hundreds of ships of various sizes moved into formation. They were sleek and dark, designed to absorb sensor scans rather than reflect them. "All ships maintain stealth protocols," Stevens ordered from the bridge of the Defender. Hold position behind the moon until my command. Fleet Admiral Ziv Kor watched with satisfaction as Earth's energy shield weakened under the Xeraxian attack. Their technology is impressive for such a young species, but ultimately futile. Increase power to forward batteries. His tactical officer suddenly looked up in alarm. Admiral, I'm detecting energy readings from various points in the solar system. Multiple locations are showing power signatures that weren't there before. Show me, Ziv Kor demanded. The tactical display updated, showing new energy sources on several moons and asteroids. Before the Admiral could respond, the officer called out again. Massive energy spike detected. Source unknown. Dr. Nelson watched. The power levels on the gravity lens reach maximum. Lens at full power, she announced. Targeting system locked on the center of the Xeraxian fleet. President Daniels gave the order. Activate the lens. Dr. Nelson pressed her palm against the security scanner. Activating now. Deep beneath the Pacific, massive generators channeled power into the gravity lens, a device that could manipulate the very fabric of space-time. The energy traveled through quantum-entangled relays to projectors hidden throughout the solar system. In the space between Mars and Jupiter, reality itself seemed to bend. A sphere of distorted space appeared in the middle of the Xeraxian fleet. Ships caught within this sphere were pulled toward its center, as gravity increased to impossible levels. On his flagship, Fleet Admiral Ziv Kor watched in horror as nearly a third of his fleet was crushed by the artificial gravity well. Mighty, warships that had destroyed countless worlds were compacted into unrecognizable masses of metal and flesh. What is this weapon? He demanded. How can they manipulate gravity on this scale? The remaining Xeraxian ships scattered in confusion. Their organized formation broke apart as captains tried to escape the gravitational anomaly. Launch all fighters. Ziv Kor ordered. Find the source of this weapon and destroy it. Thousands of smaller Xeraxian craft poured from the larger ships. They spread out, searching for the origin of the attack. Commander Stevens watched from behind the moon. They're disorganized. Now is our time. All ships, engage as planned. Earth's hidden fleet moved from behind the moon. They activated their weapons systems and advanced toward the scattered Xeraxian forces. On Europa, Commander Ellis gave the order. Surface breach now. The icy surface of Jupiter's moon cracked open. From beneath the frozen exterior, more human ships emerged. They had been built and hidden there for decades, waiting for this moment. The same scene repeated on Titan and Charon. Hidden bases revealed themselves, launching ships that had never been detected by alien observers. Supreme General Vox Thule could not believe what he was seeing. This is impossible. Where did these humans get this technology? How did they hide all of this from our scans? Fleet Admiral Ziv Kor's voice was grim when he responded. They've been preparing for us, perhaps for a very long time. The human ships moved with precision that surprised the Xeraxian commanders. They targeted the Empire's vessels with weapons that seemed specifically designed to penetrate Xeraxian shields. In her command center, Dr. Nelson monitored the gravity lens. Ready for second activation, Madam President. President Daniels watched the battle unfolding on the main screen. Earth ships were engaging the enemy effectively, but the Xeraxians still outnumbered them. Target their command ships, she ordered. Let's show them exactly what happens when you ignore humanity's one and only warning. The space between Earth and Mars turned into a battlefield unlike anything the solar system had ever seen. Human ships darted between the larger Xeraxian vessels, firing weapons that cut through alien shields with surprising effectiveness. Admiral, Carter watched the battle from Earth's command center. Our ships are performing better than expected, he noted, as the tactical display showed another Xeraxian cruiser exploding. Lieutenant Miller nodded. The shield-piercing technology works perfectly. They don't understand how we know their weaknesses so well. On the Defender, Commander Stevens led Earth's main fleet against the Xeraxian forces. His ship moved with unexpected speed for its size, avoiding enemy fire while delivering devastating blows to their largest warships. Target their flagship, Stevens ordered. Let's see if we can capture Fleet Admiral Ziv Kor alive. The Defender and 5 escort vessels broke formation and accelerated toward the center of the remaining Xeraxian fleet. Their engines glowed bright blue as they pushed to maximum speed. On his flagship, Fleet Admiral Zivkor watched with growing concern as the human vessels approached. "Increase power to forward shields," he commanded. "Prepare to jump to hyperspace if necessary." His tactical officer looked up in alarm. "Admiral, we can't establish a stable hyperspace field. Something is interfering with our drive systems." This news shocked the Admiral more than anything else. The Xeraxian hyperspace drive was their greatest technological advantage, the key to their vast empire. No species they had encountered could block it. "How is this possible?" Zivkor demanded. Supreme General Vox Thul's voice came through the communication system. "Admiral, we must consider a strategic withdrawal. These humans have technology that matches or exceeds our own in some areas. The Emperor would have us executed for abandoning a conquest." Zivkor replied sharply. "He would have us executed for losing our entire fleet as well," Vox Thul countered. Before they could decide, the space around their ships distorted again. The second activation of the gravity lens targeted the command vessels specifically. 5. Xeraxian ships, including Vox Thul's, were caught in the effect. They crumpled like paper toys, their metal hulls unable to withstand the immense gravitational forces. Fleet Admiral Zivkor's flagship barely escaped the edge of the effect. Half of his ship was crushed, but the command center remained intact. "All remaining ships fall back to Mars orbit," he ordered. "Defensive formation." The surviving Xeraxian vessels, less than half their original number, retreated and regrouped. Their formation was no longer one of attack, but of survival. In the White House Situation Room, President Daniels received updates from all fronts. "What's the status of the gravity lens?" she asked. Dr. Nelson's voice came through the secure channel. "The system needs 30 minutes to recharge, Madam President. The second activation strained the power grid." Daniels turned to General Harris. "Your assessment?" "We've destroyed or disabled more than half their fleet," Harris replied. "But they still have enough firepower to cause significant damage. I recommend we proceed with the final phase." The President nodded. "Authorize Operation Checkmate. At Tour." Hidden bases across Earth, Special Forces teams boarded small, fast ships designed for a single purpose. These vessels were practically invisible to sensors and could move at incredible speeds. Captain Greg Bennett led the largest team from a base in the Australian outback. "All teams, remember your training," he told his soldiers over the secure channel. "We board, we secure the bridge, we capture the command staff." 50 stealth ships launched from Earth. They accelerated quickly, reaching the retreating Xeraxian fleet in minutes. Their hulls were made of materials that absorbed sensor scans instead of reflecting them. Fleet Admiral Zivkor was desperately trying to reorganize his forces when the first boarding team struck. Small explosions erupted on the hulls of several Xeraxian ships as the human vessels attached themselves and cut through the metal. "We're being boarded," an officer reported in panic. "Multiple ships report human forces inside their hulls." Zivkor stared in disbelief. "How did they get past our shields?" On the largest remaining Xeraxian cruiser, Captain Bennett and his team moved through the corridors with practiced efficiency. They wore special armor that protected them from Xeraxian weapons. Each soldier carried stun weapons designed to incapacitate rather than kill. "Bridge is 2 levels up," Bennett told his team as they secured another junction. "Remember, we want prisoners who can talk." The Xeraxian crew fought back, but they were unprepared for close combat with human special forces. One by one, the E-Die alien ships fell silent as their command centers were captured. In Earth's command center, Admiral Carter received reports from the boarding teams. 5 command ships secured, sir. 3 more in progress." Carter allowed himself a small smile. "And the Admiral's flagship?" "Captain Bennett is approaching the bridge now." On Fleet Admiral Zivkor's damaged flagship, the battle had reached the command deck. Human soldiers fought their way through the last defenders. Captain Bennett personally led the final assault on the bridge. The doors slid open and Bennett's team rushed in with weapons raised. Zivkor stood at the center of the bridge, surrounded by his remaining officers. The Admiral was injured, blue, blood seeping from a wound in his side. Fleet Admiral Zivkor, Bennett announced. Your fleet is defeated. Surrender now. The Admiral looked at the human soldiers with all four of his yellow eyes. You know my name, he said slowly. You know our technology. You know our tactics. His voice grew angry. How is this possible? We have conquered 1,000 worlds and none have ever been prepared for us. Bennett kept his weapon trained on the Admiral. 50 years ago, one of your scout ships crashed on our planet. We've been studying you ever since, preparing for this day. This revelation hit Zivkor like a physical blow. The lost scout from the Terran survey, he whispered. We thought it was destroyed in an asteroid field. Surrender now, Bennett repeated. Or we'll take the ship by force. Zivkor looked at his remaining officers, then back at the humans. With obvious reluctance, he placed his ceremonial blade on the floor. The Xeraxian Empire surrenders this fleet. Throughout the solar system, the remaining Xeraxian ships powered down their weapons as the surrender order spread. The battle was over. Humanity had done what no other species had managed in the long history of the Xeraxian Empire. They had defeated an imperial fleet. In the White House, President Daniels received the news of the surrender. She turned to her advisors with a serious expression. Now comes the hard part. We must decide what message to send back to their empire. Admiral Carter nodded. This victory means nothing if they simply return with a larger force. They won't, said a new voice. Dr. Kevin Martinez entered the room. As the lead scientist who had studied the crashed alien ship, he understood the Xeraxians better than anyone. We've just done the impossible in their eyes. We need to make sure they know this wasn't luck or a fluke. We need to show them exactly what will happen if they ever return. President Daniels studied the tactical displays showing the captured Xeraxian ships. Then let's make sure our message is perfectly clear. 1 week after the battle, Fleet Admiral Zivkor stood in a large conference room on Earth. The walls were plain white, with only a single window showing the blue sky outside. 6 human leaders sat across from him at a long table. President Daniels was in the center, with military and scientific advisors on either side. Admiral Zivkor, President Daniels began, thank you for agreeing to these talks. The Admiral's 4 yellow eyes blinked slowly. His wounds had been treated by human doctors, and he wore a simple gray uniform without his imperial insignia. I did not have much choice, he replied. Your forces control what remains of my fleet. Admiral Carter leaned forward. We have a proposal for you, Admiral, one that will determine the future relationship between humanity and the Xeraxian Empire. Zivkor remained silent, waiting. President Daniels spoke clearly and directly. We will release you and 1 ship to return to your empire. The rest of your fleet and crew will remain here as our guests. Prisoners, you mean, Zivkor corrected. Guests, Daniels insisted. They will be treated well and released gradually over the next 5 years. But first, you will deliver our message to your emperor. Dr. Martinez slid a small data device across the table. This contains recordings of the battle, along with information about Earth's defensive capabilities. Or at least, what we want your empire to know about our capabilities. Zivkor picked up the device, examining it carefully. And what message am I supposed to deliver with this? President Daniels' expression was firm but not unkind. Tell your emperor that Earth wishes no conflict with the Xeraxian Empire. We have no interest in your territories or resources. We simply wish to be left alone. And if the emperor decides otherwise, Zivkor asked. He is not known for accepting defeat gracefully. Admiral Carter spoke next. The information package includes details of hidden human outposts throughout this sector of space. Outposts your scanners never detected. It also shows weapons we chose not to use in this battle. This was not entirely true. Some of the outposts were merely clever digital creations, and some of the weapons existed only in theory. But the Xeraxians would have no way to know this. You should also inform your emperor, Dr. Martinez added, that we have been monitoring Xeraxian communications for decades. We know about the rebellions on your outer colonies. the growing unrest among the subjugated species. Zivkor's skin darkened slightly, a sign of surprise or anger in his species. How could you possibly know about those internal matters? We have our methods, President Daniels said simply. Just as we had methods to defeat your fleet, methods we developed specifically to counter Xeraxian technology after studying your crashed ship. For the first time, uncertainty showed clearly in the Admiral's posture. He had commanded fleets that destroyed entire civilizations, yet these humans had defeated him with apparent ease. And what happens if I do not deliver this message? He asked. General Harris smiled thinly. Then we'll send it with someone else, but we'd prefer you deliver it personally, as the highest-ranking Xeraxian to ever encounter Earth forces. 2 days later, a single Xeraxian ship prepared to leave Earth orbit. It had been repaired enough for the journey home but was stripped of most weapons. Fleet Admiral Zivkor stood on the bridge, watching Earth grow smaller on his view screen. His second-in-command approached cautiously. Admiral, are we really going to tell the Emperor we were defeated by these humans? We have no choice, Zivkor replied. Look at this. He showed his officer the data device with its recordings of the battle. They could have destroyed our entire fleet, but they chose restraint. That is unusual. The ship accelerated away from Earth, beginning its long journey back to Xeraxian space. As it passed Mars, sensors detected something strange. Dozens of objects appeared briefly on their screens before vanishing again. Objects that looked like massive weapon platforms. Did you see that? The navigator asked anxiously. Zivkor nodded. Yes, another message from the humans. They want us to know they have defenses throughout their system. The truth was more complex. The objects were holographic projections created by small stealth satellites. Another piece of theater designed to convince the Xeraxians that Earth was far more powerful than it actually was. 3 months later, Zivkor knelt before the Xeraxian Emperor. The Imperial throne room was vast, with towering columns and hundreds of courtiers watching from the shadows. You returned defeated, Admiral, the Emperor said, his voice cold with disappointment. The first fleet commander in our history to fail, in a conquest. Zivkor kept his head bowed. Yes, Emperor. I have no excuse except that the humans were not what we expected. He presented the data device and explained what had happened. As the recordings played on the large screens around the throne room, murmurs of disbelief spread among the Imperial court. This cannot be real, one general protested. No primitive species could defeat our forces so thoroughly. But the evidence was clear. The humans had technology specifically designed to counter Xeraxian weapons and defenses. They had hidden bases throughout their system. They had been preparing for this encounter for decades. The Emperor watched silently until the recordings ended. And their message? He finally asked. Zivkor repeated the words exactly as President Daniels had spoken them. Earth wishes no conflict with the Xeraxian Empire. We have no interest in your territories or resources. We simply wish to be left alone. After a long silence, the Emperor nodded slowly. For now, we will respect their wish. There are many other worlds that will offer less resistance. His 4 eyes narrowed. But we will watch this Earth. Perhaps in time we will find weaknesses in their defenses. On Earth, life gradually returned to normal. The captured Xeraxian ships were studied carefully, providing new insights and technologies. The prisoners were treated well as promised. Some even began to learn human languages and customs. 6 months after the battle, President Daniels met with Admiral Carter and Dr. Martinez in the Rose Garden of the White House. Any sign of Xeraxian activity near our system? She asked. Carter shook his head. None. Our deep space sensors show their ships giving us a wide berth. And our defenses? Daniels asked. Dr. Martinez smiled. Improving every day. The new ships based on Xeraxian designs will be ready next year, and the improved gravity lens can now target multiple points simultaneously. President Daniels looked up at the blue sky. Somewhere beyond that peaceful view, humanity was securing its place among the stars. Their empire conquered 1,000 worlds because no one was ever prepared for them, she said quietly. We were the first to give them just one warning, and mean it. In the decades that followed, humanity expanded cautiously into nearby star systems. They established colonies and research outposts. They met other species, some friendly, some not, but they always remembered the lesson of their first contact with the Xeraxian Empire. Earth became known throughout the galaxy as the planet that had done what none other could, stood against an empire, and won. The planet that gave just one warning. The planet that needed to give no more, and the Xeraxians never returned to Earth's solar system.